All right. Hi there. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Is that how we do this? So sorry, I don't usually kick these off. So pardon my intro there. Mike, I wanted to know if I could ask you for some mentorship for my own real estate transaction I'm getting ready to do. So
Sure. Always. Let's.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's the story. I have a property that I bought in 2021
Okay.
here in my area on the east side of Seattle in a little town called Snoqualmie, which is a commuter town to Bellevue in Seattle. So lots of tech people out here. It was a little starter home in an area that is zoned for commercial redevelopment.
Okay.
And it's got a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house on it. And it is about 950 square feet. We originally were thinking we would maybe tear it down and redevelop, but I've since decided that's not a good idea for me because I am not a developer. And I feel like there's a lot of ways I could lose my shirt on that. And it's not worth it. Not worth it. So maybe a developer may want it, maybe not. But I've also, some developers I've talked to aren't necessarily feeling very bullish about developing right now. So probably not the best for that.
Okay.
What I'm thinking about doing, so I purchased it for $435,000 cash.
Okay.
And I did not do a 1031. So there's not a whole lot. There'll be some depreciation recapture, but not a
much.
lot.
Yeah. 4 years, not much.
Yeah, not a lot. And it's been renting for about $2,600 a month, which in our area is about, that really is market rent on this house. The house is 100 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's in decent shape. And it's in a great little walkable zone. You know, I think it could be very popular for a first-time home buyer or somebody who wanted to do live work because it's zoned for, you can have an office and a home.
Okay.
I think the market value is probably about $650. And I'm thinking about cashing it in and taking that money out of the game.
Okay.
Is that smart or not smart? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be fun. So again, we have to remember, again, for the audience, you're not in growth mode, right? You've been doing this a while. You're in what I call chill mode, or maybe Coach Carson would call harvest mode.
This is harvesting. Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely harvesting. So there's a couple of things, right? So again, if you were to sell it at $650, figure transaction cost, whatnot, your tax liability, just guesstimate, is going to be about, I don't know, even with depreciation recapture, about $250,000, which is at your tax bracket, probably, 10% capital gains tax because you've owned it more than a year or 2 years. So there's a little bit of tax it, but again, I don't make decisions based on taxes. I think the real decision is, what would you do with, let's just call it $600,000 for a round number. Like what does Beth decide to do with $600,000 in cash?
So here's the thing. So I've been trained to be, with real estate investors, we've trained to be always investing in something else, right? And so it's unnatural for me to take it off the table. But there's a couple reasons why I was thinking I wanted to. I have a line of credit on my primary residence that's about $380,000. And there's a first mortgage that's about $500,000, and that is at 3.125. The second mortgage is variable rate, interest only, and we're about 5 years into it because I got that in about 2021 as well. And I ended up using some of that for various things that I won't get into, but part of this is me thinking maybe it's time to right size because the interest rate on the second is about 8.5. It's a gnarly rate. Yeah. And so I'm paying about $2,700 a month on that second on my primary. And my primary is my forever home. I'm never leaving that house. I love it. Right. And it's my dream house. And even with the 2 mortgages, it's still less than 50% leverage, so there's a lot of equity in it. So it's not about being able to afford the payment or anything like that, but it's just about me being at this phase in my life where I'm getting closer to being an empty nester and I'm not retired like Dion in Thailand, but and I don't know what he would do with this, but I want to know what you would. So I'm thinking, like, is it time to pay that? I could use 380 to pay that off. Yep. And I also have a monster rehab that I'm still working on in another area that is going to need maybe another 100,000 or so to finish. That's a story for another day. But yeah, I have reserves and I don't, but I have a thing where like, I don't like to touch those reserves.
Right.
So should I take that money and invest it in something else that generates a higher return to pay that line of credit, or just pay the thing off? I don't know what would you recommend for somebody like me?
So again, if I was in your situation, so again, these are everything is personal, right? Everything's personal. Again, I don't like having, first off, I don't like any debt over 7, right? And again, it's certainly over 8. If it's over 8%, I would definitely focus on paying it off. Because again, that's likely better than you can get on almost any real estate transaction today. So again, I think there's a lot of value in paying it off. Second, I certainly have had line of credits and seconds on my primary home, but anytime I did that, I always focused on paying it off before I went any further. Because I grew up where I remember packing as a kid because we were going to lose the house to foreclosure. And I never wanted to have my family go through that. And I'm not saying you're in any bad situation, but there's just a level of comfort in owning your primary nearly, or if, eventually free and clear. So I like that for 2 reasons. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to have the extra for this other big project. I think it makes complete sense where you are in life to scoop up the capital. You're getting rid of a 100-year-old 2-bedroom, 1 bath that, went up 50%. So good on you. You're going to take the equity line back to 0 balance. And, you're going to have the reserve, you're going to have the cash to put into this other project. I don't think there is another answer, Beth. It's to sell it, take the cash.
Okay.
Pay 25 grand in taxes or 30 grand in taxes. No big deal. And yeah, I think that's the only answer, is do that.
Okay. Because a part of me was thinking, I'm also foregoing the rent, which, people that are watching out there need to keep in mind that in Western Washington, greater Seattle area, like, you're not going to get, a $600,000 house is a tear down, right. 650s virtually a tear down, and $2,600 a month is about the most you'll get for that 2-bedroom house. If it's 3 bedrooms, I'd get more, but I'm foregoing that, and that but is paying the line of credit, and maybe you just keep rolling, that went up 50%. I'm taking that. It won't be going up anymore if I sell it, but maybe that doesn't matter at this point.
No, I think you've been in the game 20 plus years like I have. And sometimes it makes sense. Like, one of the things Olivia and I are doing, we do every couple of years, is we look at our portfolio and go, which asset has caused us the most trouble? And there's an asset that's been on that list for 10 years and we're selling it because it's like, this thing's, and again, we own it free and clear. So it's not a debt problem. It's just like, this freaking house, or this duplex in the case, wrong part of town. The town went the street went the wrong way. It's like, we don't need that headache anymore. We're about peace of mind. Now, in this case, we're going to probably 1031 that into something else, probably in Vegas. But yeah, at some point, it just makes sense to go scoop it up. We sold a triplex 3 years ago and just took the cash because we didn't find a better opportunity. So yeah, I know there's a natural instinct to investors to just keep the chips in the game.
Yeah.
But we've been doing this a couple of decades, and it's okay to take some chips off the table sometimes.
Right. Actually pay the dreaded tax and all of that,
Yeah.
That's actually what I did when I bought this property. I had a flip house that we were going to rent, but instead we decided to sell it, and we just took that, and we took the money off the table. But then, compulsive me, I found this other opportunity, and I'm like, let's just buy this. So we bought it, and it actually worked out pretty well because, like you said, it went up about 50%. In those boom years, right?
Yeah.
So but a part of me was even thinking it might make sense to maybe in the next 5 years take another 3 or 4. So we have about 17 properties total. which isn't a lot when I talk to, you guys have hundreds or whatever it is. It's just like, but for me in my little world, that's pretty good. So, but I think about maybe, and they're all kind of similar equity wise, and overall the leverage on the whole portfolio is about 40% or so. It's pretty minimal.
You're very, very safe. Yeah.
Very, very safe. I've been there through the great financial crisis. Like, you're not going to over leverage with bombshell debt. But it had occurred to me that maybe I might even take some other chips off the table and invest them in other, non-real estate investments, just to have a little more balance. And maybe for me, that's a better way to get better cash flow on that too. You roll that, like you build the equity and then roll that into some sort of cash flow elsewhere.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you're going to start to think about, because you'll be an empty nester before you know it, is what do I want my life to look like? Because you're a top 1% real estate agent. You work very hard today. You run a team. You're everywhere doing everything, which is awesome. But you've done enough work these last 2 decades, ultimately 3 decades, where you don't have to work that hard anymore. And I think you're going to have to figure out what do I want life to be like? And maybe, that's take 7 figures, put it in some kind of fund and make 5% mailbox money, right? Yeah. Don't have to think about it. And again, let's be clear, 5% a decade ago would not have caused me I wouldn't have come out of bed for that. Yeah. But again, at some point in life, when it's about quality of life and mailbox money, sometimes it's okay, right? Take 5% on $1 million and don't have to think about it. That's not a bad life. No. So I think that's one of the things you're going to have to work on with your husband is, kid goes off to college and we're empty nesters. What do we want to do? Maybe you want to be Dion. Maybe you want to spend 6 months out of the country.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I'm big into road trips and I want to do more road trips.
Yeah. Get in an RV and spend 90 days doing a circle around the United States.
That's what I see. So just having that freedom to do that. And I'm really, the older I get, the more I am about peace of mind. Also just I've always been self-employed. And that always means, like, if you don't generate the business, like, you don't eat.
Yeah.
And there's overhead involved too, so that balance with the investing and the high risk tolerance that requires to be an investor.
Yeah.
Because you got to stick yourself out there and do some things that are a little bold, and you got to be comfortable with that, which I am. But it's just learning how to walk back from that is not as easy as some people might think.
We get so wired to lean forward that when we get to a place that's comfortable, it is again, I always envision myself leaning forward for 20 years. And then I just try to stand upright and you're all off balance, right? Because you've always been leaning forward and grinding and the next deal and the next deal and the next, and you just stand up straight and you're all like, you're discombobulated because your center of gravity is off.
Yeah.
I understand it.
It's not natural. Yeah. Like we're built to be pushing forward.
Yes. We're certainly conditioned. We're conditioned to do that. But what I can tell you is you will eventually get your equilibrium. Right. Because I've been there. Right. My world changed in February of 2018 and I was a wreck for 3 or 4 months. But eventually it's like, okay, I found something I can do on the side. I still feel like I'm contributing. Bills were never a problem. And I can tell you, and it's something I wish all of you have, including yourself, is you get to have that discovery. Like, what do I want the next 3 decades to be? Because you don't have to lean forward forever, right? You can take your foot off the gas and you still have momentum. You're going to still be coasting faster than most people, but to you, it's going to feel like you're walking. So I look forward to this self-discovery you're about to go through.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the validation, thank you. So I'll have to keep you posted on how it goes. But right now it'll probably be on the market in about a month. The tenant's going to move out and all of that. And that's a slow process around here with the notice requirements, et cetera, which is another reason too. I know like Dion will never invest in King County where I'm invested because things like that. So
well, folks, let us know in the comments. Do you disagree with me? Do you think she should keep it and just keep doubling down and betting on black or betting on red or green zero, whatever it is? Let us know in the comments what you would do if you were Beth.
I'm so looking forward to what people have to say, because I'm sure some people will say, no, you should put it here, or you should put it there, or do this.
See what they say.
Yeah, I would love to get everybody's input. So thank you.
There you go. Beth, you're amazing. Again, you're coming out to Vegas. You're going to bring your daughter with us. So folks, if you're beginning at the Vegas event, make sure you say hi. And Beth, you're amazing. Take care.
Can't wait to meet everybody there. Thanks.
Yes. Bye.